Welcome to the Weege Show, now back in my quarantine garage at home. I'd spent 8 days in Salt Lake City to attend the first 2 rounds of the revamped, relaunched Monster Energy Supercross Championship. Due to social distancing rules, though, as a media person, we really aren't allowed to have actual conversations in person with most of the teams and riders, but we are able to get inside access via Zoom calls, phone calls, texts, and things like that. So I can get the same access at home as I can at the race. And I'll give you some of that inside information on this edition of the show, which is of course brought to you by Racetech and their gold valves. You know your suspension will be plusher, have better bottoming resistance, and more traction, and the gold valves are made in the USA. So go to racetech.com for more on those. I'm gonna see, I don't know if they have a set for this TTR 110 that I've been working on before the quarantine, or sorry, before we got back to racing, and I'm back to working on it now. I'm gonna have you folks diagnose a problem in just a moment. But you don't really care about this bike or me as the rider. Let's talk about an unbelievable instant classic that we had in Salt Lake City, round 13 of the championship on Sunday. Now, first of all, I did live the Groundhog Day existence of waking up and getting out of the same hotel and seeing the same people every day for 8 days. But what is shocking is, although we're in the same city and going to the same stadium each time, the racing has been totally different. The first one of these things was a dry, dusty, hot race. Then we had perfect tacky conditions at the Wednesday race, and then this next Sunday, the temperatures were half of what they were on the first Sunday, and it was a mudder. So from a hot, dusty race to a cold mud race, Supercross is doing its best to give you the full menu of different conditions and different types of races, despite racing in the same place every time. And what a battle last night. I'm not sure how you want to say it. Is it impressive that Webb showed he had the speed to go head-to-head against Eli Tomac, who, when he is on his game, has speed pretty much no one can match? Or is it impressive that Eli Tomac, dealing with some adversity, Webb fighting back against him, and Webb so good with late race heroics? Well, Tomac didn't fold. It's just another example of the type of championship test that Tomac has gotten this year, and this year he seems to pass it every single time. It's almost as different of an Eli Tomac as a difference in track that we had from one Sunday to the next. And it's also proof that whenever someone wants to overanalyze these things and say when a rider gets a solid points lead, he's just going to protect it, guess what? You see these things, these handlebars? They don't have calculators on the handlebars of dirt bikes. The riders cannot tune themselves to ride at approximately 89%. Tomac is racing to win pretty much all the time. Maybe if we get to the series finale, he backs it down. But there was no backing down in this race between he and Webb. They took off, and in conditions that were borderline muddy, they were willing to take risks that no one else was willing to take. They kept uncorking bigger and bigger combinations in the rhythm lanes, and Tomac absolutely blew past Webb at one point in the whoops. Webb adjusted his line and started going pretty darn fast on the whoops himself. I don't think anyone else was willing to blitz the whoops like them. Most riders were riding through them or at least jumping through them. This resulted in a massive lead over the field. They lapped every single rider except for third place Jason Anderson. They lapped the fourth place rider Zach Osborne, who had the whole shot and led the race early. They lapped Ken Roczen twice, and then to add insult to injury, each time they lapped Roczen, they were actually battling and passing each other at the same time. For Roczen, who announced that he's had some breathing problems all year, he hasn't mentioned the tie-in with elevation in Salt Lake City, but you've got to think that that's not a coincidence that he's struggling now at the racing at 4,000 some feet. It obviously has not been a problem for the altitude-trained Tomac, and now suddenly Eli has a big points lead that he's not going to rest on because he doesn't have calculators on the handlebars. No. Instead, he and Webb went at it. They were smashing into lap riders, bouncing off of things, trying to figure out new lines on what should have been a one-line racetrack. It was incredible. It was awesome. And it really came down to, was Webb going to find that regular last lap, late race heroic ride? Or is Tomac going to weather that storm and just use his beast mode speed to get it done? And really, even on the last lap, he didn't know what was going to happen. Heck, Webb tried to jump the standard Supercross triple and land on the inside, which was nuts. And he cased, and he rode an endo into a corner, and he bumped Tomac, but they kept it pretty clean. And then lap riders got in the way again, and Tomac got the win. Tomac in the post-race press conference said it was freaking sweet, not just to win, but to have a battle like that. Eli said he went in the last corner dabbing and hanging off the back of the bike and just hanging on for dear life to try to win the race. It was awesome to see two guys just battle each other heads up with all they had. You know, even if they do or do not have experience in elevation, they must have been totally gassed and winded after battling those conditions and each other the whole time. What a spectacular race. It was only missing one thing, and that was fans in the stands to cheer them in what really should go down as one of the best races in recent memory, to see two superstars like that really battle. And it is the funny thing about Supercross and Motocross, where you can have two riders that battle for race wins and titles, but you don't often get them in the same race at the same time battling each other much. This is by far the best Webb versus Tomac battle we've ever seen. Since the Salt Lake City races keep changing, I don't know if we'll get another, but you sure hope so, because it's obvious that Tomac is still racing to win these things, and it's obvious that Webb has got that old chip on his shoulder drive and determination to try to at least stave off championship elimination. A little insider gossip, there are rumors, and I believe they've been confirmed, that a little of the old Cooper Webb trash talk returned to the starting gate before the previous race on Wednesday, which he won. So now I think that Cooper is digging into the entire bag of tricks to try to maybe rattle Eli and Kenny to do anything he can to get back in this championship. He obviously did everything he could on the track to win that one. The fact that Tomac was immune to all that, he didn't pump up, he didn't get tight, he didn't make the mistake. It's been impressive, man. In fact, virtually no champion goes all 17 rounds not making any sort of big mistake at all. Tomac is on the verge of doing that. But again, they don't have calculators on the handlebars. I do not want people to start saying Tomac's going to finish in these positions and that will give him enough points over the final rounds to win this title. It's still racing and anything can happen. And we've seen it with the amount of lap riders those guys banged off of, the amount of jumps they were just hucking improvisationally. And don't forget also that Adam Cianciarulo went down in front of Tomac and Webb immediately in the first race at Salt Lake City. Could have taken out one or both of them. At any time, anything can happen. The fact that we're having completely different races in the same exact city and stadium really shows that racing isn't as predictable as we like to predict it will be. Man, that was good though. Man, I don't care if you're a Webb or a Tomac fan. You just got to be pumped to see that kind of action. And although they don't hand out participant ribbons, they hand out first place trophies. Both riders have to be proud with the effort, and the fans have to be happy to have seen that type of racing. Now, in the 250 class, that was a 180-degree change. Chase Sexton was on the ropes because Shane McElrath had been dominating the proceedings in Salt Lake City. Everyone was starting to buzz about how fast those YZ250Fs are, and maybe he just had an insurmountable advantage at altitude. And then he passed Sexton, and Sexton went off the track, and then Sexton crashed, and he was in 7th, and McElrath was in the lead, and a red flag came out. And boy, did Sexton take advantage of that. He started behind McElrath on a restart, and he hounded him. Now, full credit to Sexton. He was fast enough to stay with McElrath and put the pressure on. You could tell he was biding his time, and then McElrath bumped into a lap rider and crashed, and Sexton went on to take the win. And just like that, what appeared to be a sure victory and 3 straight and a points lead for McElrath is now a victory for Sexton and a slim points lead. There are only 2 races to go in the East. I don't think this is a points thing as much as it is a Sexton stopping the bleeding thing. And he's a guy that's pretty confident in himself. I think if you're Chase Sexton and you say, yeah, I got 2 races to get this done, I like my chances. It really changed in a hurry. So what we continue to see here in Salt Lake City is keep holding races in the same building, in the same city, and everything's going to change. Making it quite interesting with more racing in store on Wednesday. I'm just going to say it for like the 19th time. What a battle between Tomac and Webb. As for me, this is the project my buddy Jason Hooper let me either borrow or maybe buy for free. I don't know. This TTR 110. And I don't know what year it is. He doesn't know either. No owner's manual, no title. This is a Craigslist special. And it runs pretty good. I mean, the battery's dead, so I got to kick it. Hang on here. Oh, it's in gear. Sorry. And here's the problem, everybody. It's good, right? Runs good. when you hold the bike wide open, it starts to cut out. Now, I would know that's a main jet problem, but I actually changed all the jets, but they're OEM spec jetting, so why would the thing run rich and cut out on top? It doesn't make any sense. So there you go, sleuths. That's what I'm gonna work on in my garage, since I can't walk around and interview all the riders at the races, but I do get to participate in these Zoom calls, and that's where Webb and Tomac showed each other extreme respect. They kept it clean. Maybe there was some Cooper Webb trash talk on the line, but there certainly wasn't any in the post-race press conference. I'll keep giving you the most inside access I'm able to get. We'll do another one of these before the Wednesday race. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Racetech for backing us.